Upstart by Alexandria Proctor. Introduction. I'm not your typical overachiever. If there was a prize for the girl most likely to fail, all indicators would point to me. If you had told any of my teachers at any point in my schooling career that I might amount to anything other than being sent to prison, or at the very least being totally louch, they would have dropped dead in shock. I was a precocious kid with too much energy and too much hope. From a young age, I was told that I was naughty. I was told I was disobedient. On all my school report cards, which my parents have kept to this day, God only knows why, it was the same story for 12 years. Claire, my old name, is highly disruptive in class. She refuses to be taught. She is troublesome. She is the only girl, yet again, to be awarded detention this term. I hold the dubious honor of, at the age of 5, being the youngest person in the history of my 100-year-old school to be sent to detention for telling the teacher she was stupid. By all accounts, she was. Throughout my childhood, adults told me that I was a bad kid, so I started to act out that role. I didn't want to sit in class all day. I wanted to run around in fields and climb trees, read books I loved and not the set works. So I did. I didn't want to do homework. I wanted to build forts. So I did. I failed most tests spectacularly and was often placed in the last set. Oftentimes, when I'm going to a talk or an interview and I'm asked about the founding story of Diggs Connect, I refer to my childhood self and how much was stacked against me in terms of what they thought of me and who they told me I could be. Steve Jobs once gave an iconic speech where he spoke about connecting the dots. This phrase has become folklore in startup circles. We all talk about connecting the dots, those big moments that almost drip with destiny. Of course, there are many moments in the startup world that are less destiny-ish and simply mundane, filled with endless meetings to discuss sales optimizations. There are tax laws, and there are always those hundreds and hundreds of unread emails. Some days it feels like you're in the utter toilet of destiny. On other days, it's watching seemingly everyone else in the entire startup world closing massive funding rounds with off-the-charts revenue while you can't even seem to get your conversion rate right. It's standing at the end of the line and having no idea what's next, when there are no maps, no signs, no lights as you take your next step into the dark. It's the creeping thoughts of insecurity, that maybe you're an imposter, that maybe you should be doing something else. It's having anxiety about the future, but nevertheless choosing to stay in this murky land of who knows what and who knows why. Growing up, I wanted to be a revolutionary. I imagined myself in the jungles of Central Africa and South America, or the mountains of Asia, the deserts of the Middle East. I'd have an AK-47 strapped to my back and an assortment of warlord lovers, surrounded by a band of rebels, my army of chaos, calling out our defiance against the system, capital T, capital S, ready to dismantle it with our passion and bare hands. Along the way, I found myself living in Camps Bay, practically neighbours with the president and driving a Mini, which I named Angela Merkel for reasons that will later become obvious. I dressed head to toe in Adidas athleisure and had Tom Ford sunglasses perched on my nose. I was surrounded by my MacBook, iPhone, Aesop skincare range, soy-scented candles, and pretentious yoga gear, with organic vegetables slowly steaming in my smeg-fitted kitchen while my Spotify chill indie daily mix played through my Bose soundbar. I'd wake up in my perfectly scented room under my white Egyptian cotton duvet, and sometimes I think about my alter ego, rebel self, the Alexandria Proctor who would have rubbed her eyes awake in a hammock in a rebel military base, and I'd feel a tinge of regret. Had I become a total sellout? How had I landed here? And for the past 2 years, I've been living between London and South Africa. I sometimes spend time at the British Museum, diving in and losing myself in past civilizations, observing Gilgamesh, who lived forever, or Octavius, who spent his time empire building. I often get carried away as I find myself consumed by Hannibal, marching elephants across the Alps, roaming chaos, Cyrus destroying Babylon, Boudica leading an army, Genghis howling at the gate, Shark in the blood of the wizards, Joan of Arc burning at the pyre, Cleopatra in her agony and ecstasy. These moments of uncanny bravery, of warrior hearts, and the indomitable human spirit touched my heart deeply. When humans did the unimaginable, when for a moment in time they were celebrated or hated or idolized, and then recycled as heroes in the great thermodynamic chain, our line, unbroken, our humanity, surviving always, somehow, all living on Sagan's pale blue dots, fragile and precious beyond measure. In the course of writing this book, I've been at sea several times, caught in the headlights by the sheer momentum of it all, but somehow carried by my uncontainable energy and ebullience and always say yes attitude that whips me up in the Gulf Stream of everything happening around me. Sometimes when the party ends, I don't know how to find my way back to the ground. The thing about the ground, though, is that gravity pulls you there whether you like it or not. So one way or another, I land, crashing down, at times completely flattened by inertia, devoid of grace, to wash up on the shores of my consciousness. In the quiet of these moments, I finally remember why humanity stands on distant shores and looks beyond the horizons and dreams of more. Why our greatness is defined by choosing to do the right thing, not when it is easy, but when it is hard. In Pale Blue Dot, Carl Sagan reminds us that despite all its material advantages, the sedentary life has left us edgy and unfulfilled. In a way that only Sagan can, he tells us that nothing lasts forever, and that it's beyond our powers to predict the future. He evokes a longing for the open road, which still softly calls us, and he inspires us to be brave and discover new worlds. And in Moby Dick, Herman Melville speaks to all of us who are wanderers. I am tormented with an everlasting itch for things remote. I love to sail forbidden seas. This is my story. This is the tale of the restless wanderer. This is the story of Digs Connect.